So you had mentioned the problem with the cougars and stuff like that. I've written several papers for removal of that bill. What are your thoughts and opinions on it when you know that the state pays hunters to hunt these cougars that are problematic with the dogs, when you have people who are willing to pay for the tag themselves?
Well, I'll feel that, because that's up my alley in Ag and Natural Resources. We hear this every session. We hear a bill on this. What was trying to be done was this. We had, and I'm going to use the example, the Hepner unit, and a lot of you know where Hepner is. Well, trust me, you can't see the end of the world. It's not the end of the world, but you can sure see it from there. But anyway, they noticed that cow to calf retention, and that's for every 100 cows, 30 calves would survive. That went down all of a sudden to 15. It was dropped in half. 15 calves per 100 cows of retention that lived. So they sent in 2 hunters and paid them and said, take as many cougars as you can in a 2-month period out of the unit. They took 40-some cougars, which is a lot for a unit. The next year, the calf retention went back up to 30 per 100 cows. So it did have a detrimental effect to the elk population. Now, having said that, we paid a lot of money for that, whereas you could have the same results, no matter how you skin it. You could have sold tags for 40 cougar, because that's how many you had to take care of. You could have sold those, and you could have hired the guys with the hounds, make sure that they're part of it. So then you have an economic development tool, plus you have a revenue stream coming into the state instead of a bill going out, and you're being billed for it. We would have made money instead of losing money, and we would have had the same results, plus the people that had the hounds would have had the ability to earn some money as an economic development.
So here's where we end. This goes back to the question, like, who do you listen to? We had testimony on this, and I believe it was my first session, and there's a rancher from the Esquivel Valley who came to testify. And usually if someone's from your district, you know, you try to pay attention who's there, and you try to be there when they testify, even if you're not on the committee. And she testified that in her experience, a kind of random hunting of cougars leads to additional cougar attacks on livestock and you know, possibly human interactions. And she said, I don't know why it is, but the way we're doing it, she said, it's like we're killing the smart older male cougars and we're letting the younger male cougars just kind of run wild. And she says, I'm not sure why that's happening, but that's from my experience what's happening. So I started to look into that, and I looked at the cougar management plan, and I asked Department of Fish and Wildlife, I said, is your cougar management plan, is it peer reviewed? I mean, you go back to the science involved, say, who reviewed the plan? And they said, well, it's not really peer review. And I said, you got to peer review what you're doing. What are you doing here? What's exactly going on? And we might disagree on Washington, University of Washington's program for predator control, but their top scientists reviewed our plan and said, what you're doing is doing exactly what that rancher in the Applegate said. The way you're hunting cougars is going to escalate the problem rather than de-escalate it. You've got to selectively hunt cougars. You can't randomly hunt them. So that's my problem with the cougar process. The whole issue of whether hounds should be used or not be used. I think you could make that decision on a county by county basis if you had the right framework that you were confident in, that you weren't being counterproductive and you weren't going to increase the incidence of cougar attacks. So.
See, Peter and I are very, very close to an agreement on this issue, even though it may not appear that way. And the reason being is because I'm a conservationist. I'm the type of guy that I believe that in order to, for future generations to enjoy what I've enjoyed as a child, then we must preserve our herds. Who preserves the herds more than anything? The hunters. Yeah, that's right, the hunters. They put more money into it. They put more effort into habitat. They put more effort into Ducks Unlimited, to Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, to the Mule Deer Association, to Pheasants Forever, to the Northwest Turkey Foundation. How many environmentalists put money into it? They're not doing it.
I put $10 a month.
Well, yeah. But you see what I'm saying is that the people that really care about that, because they hunt those animals, want to ensure that we have good, healthy herds. Now, the cougar is a part of that, but it's not a major factor until it becomes a major factor, and then that's the time when you need to have the cougar management plan. Now, some of the management plans we have in the state of Oregon are just a joke. Example, a lot of people have never asked the Game Commission, how do you meet your quota on elk? They go through and they talk to the landowners, and then they change the quota every year. So I'm going, well, in other words, I could meet my management plan because I could just drop it or raise it, right? Yeah. So they're raising and lowering the bar to meet their management plan, which doesn't make sense to me at all. But I have seen a definite decline in elk herds. I have definitely seen that, and mule deer herds. So.